Most men grow accustomed to being the one who initiates everything. The first text, the plans, the follow-ups, the reassurance, the explanations, the waiting. And eventually, almost all of them arrive at the same silent question. Why does she feel so far away, so inactive, so emotionally cold? Here's the truth most men are never told. Women do initiate. Women do pursue. Women do chase. Just not men who've conditioned them not to. If she never reaches out, never escalates, never moves toward you, that isn't misfortune. That's feedback. It means something in how you showed up taught her that your attention was guaranteed and therefore carried no value. So ask yourself honestly, if she never initiates, what lesson did you teach her about your worth? This isn't surface-level dating advice, and it's not about tricks or manipulation. What you're about to hear is a psychological explanation of why certain men naturally inspire pursuit while others unknowingly extinguish it. In this video, I'll break down 7 principles that change the dynamic so women stop leaning away and start leaning in, without you chasing, convincing, or performing. If you care about emotional control, self-respect, and long-term leverage, like, subscribe, and stay with me. Let's start where most men fail. Number 1, stop rewarding passive energy. Most men don't realize they're doing this because it feels kind, it feels patient, it feels like effort, but psychologically, it's overgiving, and it quietly erodes a woman's desire to invest. Overgiving happens when you offer more than the situation has earned. You respond immediately even when she vanishes for hours. You carry conversations she barely contributes to. You continue giving attention, reassurance, and effort without any sign she's meeting you halfway. On the surface, it looks like interest. To the nervous system, it signals imbalance. Here's the error most men make. They believe giving more will encourage her to reciprocate. In reality, it teaches her the opposite. The human brain is designed to conserve energy. When rewards come without effort, motivation drops, not out of cruelty, but because there's no urgency. So she adjusts. She learns she can lean back. She learns she doesn't have to initiate, escalate, or pursue. She learns your attention is consistent, regardless of her investment. And once that pattern settles in, she doesn't feel drawn toward you. She feels accommodated by you. That's why passivity grows. Not because she lacks interest, but because the environment you created made passivity the easiest option. Here's the part most men resist accepting. You didn't discover her passivity. You trained it. When effort and reward are disconnected, attraction fades. Not loudly, quietly. She stops feeling the tension that pulls her forward. She stops feeling the need to lean in. She starts replying instead of reaching out. The shift begins when you reconnect effort to access. Your presence becomes responsive, not constant. When she engages, you're there, calm, grounded, attentive. When she pulls back, you don't chase to rebalance things. You allow space to do its job. That absence isn't punishment, it's contrast, and contrast reawakens awareness. When your presence must be earned, it feels valuable. When it's gone, it's felt. That gap creates emotional movement. She starts adjusting, not because you demanded anything, but because the environment changed. This is where many men panic and rush back in. Don't. Discomfort isn't danger. It's information. Stop rewarding what costs her nothing. Start reinforcing what requires intention. That's how initiative returns, without lectures, without pressure, and without sacrificing your composure. Number 2, create intrigue and uncertainty without playing games. Most men misunderstand intrigue because they confuse it with manipulation. They think it means being vague, inconsistent, or emotionally unavailable. It doesn't. Real intrigue comes from restraint, not deception. The female mind is wired to seek closure. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect. Unfinished experiences stay active in the mind. When something feels unresolved, the brain keeps revisiting it. That's not strategy. That's biology. Men destroy this by over-explaining. They talk too much. They reveal too quickly. They unload their story, their intentions, their availability, and their emotional investment early, often under the banner of honesty. What they're really doing is draining all tension from the interaction. Certainty feels safe, but safety without tension doesn't inspire pursuit. When a woman feels she has you fully figured out, your interest, your intentions, your availability, there's nothing left for her nervous system to engage with. No curiosity, no pull, no reason to move toward you. She doesn't feel intrigued, she feels informed, and informed doesn't chase. This shows up subtly. Conversations that drag on too long, messages that explain instead of invite. Emotional clarity given before attraction has room to grow. Men think they're building connection, but they're actually closing the loop too early. Intrigue exists in what you don't rush to resolve. It's ending a conversation while the energy is still alive. It's not locking in definitions before the dynamic earns them. It's allowing moments to end slightly unfinished, so her mind keeps working after you leave. This doesn't mean withholding interest. It means not flooding the space with certainty. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Certainty kills desire faster than rejection. Rejection creates tension. Certainty eliminates it. When you stop trying to clarify everything and allow room for curiosity, something shifts. She starts asking questions internally. She wonders where she stands. She leans forward, not because she's confused, but because her attention has been activated. Intrigue isn't silence. It's pacing. You don't vanish. You don't perform. You simply stop rushing the outcome. And when you do, pursuit doesn't need to be forced. It begins naturally. Number 3, use micro-flirtation, then pull back. One of the fastest ways men erase attraction is by overwhelming a woman with constant validation. Compliments, attention, emotional availability with no pause. It feels warm, it feels supportive, and it quietly destroys desire. The female nervous system doesn't respond to nonstop stimulation. It responds to contrast. When validation is continuous, it becomes background noise, not because she's unappreciative, but because the brain adapts. Dopamine spikes come from variation, not excess. That's why intermittent reinforcement is so powerful. A reward followed by a brief absence creates anticipation, craving, focus. Most men never establish that rhythm. They flirt endlessly. They compliment everything. They stay emotionally switched on at all times. Without realizing it, they remove the mystery that keeps her attention engaged. There's nothing left to pursue because everything is already available. Microflirtation changes that. It's brief, intentional, and contained. A confident remark, a moment of eye contact, a grounded compliment delivered without expectation, then released. No follow-up, no fishing for a reaction, no escalation attached. Then you pivot, you talk about something neutral, you let the moment end. That pullback is where the effect happens. Her nervous system feels the spike, then the drop. And the brain dislikes unfinished emotional loops. It wants completion. It wants the feeling again. So she becomes more alert, more engaged, more curious about how to reconnect with that energy. This isn't teasing, it's restraint. Here's where men misinterpret mystery. They think it means distance. It doesn't. Mystery means control over expression, knowing when to stop, even when continuing feels good. A simple example looks like this. You say, "That look suits you," calmly. You smile. Then you shift the conversation. No hovering, no explanation, no reassurance. Now the moment belongs to her. She replays it. She wonders what it meant. She looks for the next opening, not because affection was withheld, but because it wasn't over-delivered. That distinction matters. Mystery isn't silence, it's restraint. When your attention arrives in clean, deliberate moments instead of a constant stream, it gains weight. And weight is what pulls someone forward, without you chasing at all. Number 4, make her earn your availability. Your time is your most valuable currency, and it's the one most men give away without thought. Once it's spent, it's gone. Yet many men treat their time as if it has no cost, no gravity, no consequence. Women sense this immediately. When a man is always available, always reachable, always ready to rearrange his life the moment she texts, his presence loses weight. Not because she doesn't value him, but because the nervous system doesn't register abundance as value. It registers scarcity. This isn't a dating trick, it's biology. The brain's reward system responds more intensely when something desirable is limited or uncertain. That's why rare experiences feel exciting. That's why exclusive access creates anticipation. And that's exactly why a man whose time isn't available on demand feels more compelling than one who is. Men undermine this by being too accessible. She texts at the last minute, and he drops everything. She vaguely hints at plans, and he leaps to accommodate. She gives minimal effort, and he still shows up at full capacity. Over time, the message becomes unmistakable. His time has no cost, and when something costs nothing, it's valued accordingly. Making her earn your availability doesn't mean being distant or cold. It means being deliberate. It means your schedule reflects a life that matters to you first. If she reaches out without having invested recently, you don't rush to fit her in. You reply when it aligns with your rhythm. If she proposes something last minute after days of silence, you don't twist your structure to make it work. You stay grounded. That boundary does something critical. It communicates that access to you isn't automatic. It has context, it has timing, it has standards. Here's what most men overlook. Effort should be rewarded, but only when it's genuine. When she plans ahead, shows consideration, or rearranges her schedule for you, that's when you show up fully. You're present. You enjoy the connection. You let her experience that her investment created closeness. The nervous system learns through contrast. She begins associating effort with access, initiative with reward. Without a single conversation, urgency forms, because now your time isn't something she can tap into whenever she feels like it. It's something she has to secure. That's the shift. If your time costs nothing, your presence carries no weight. But when your availability is rooted in self-respect, it becomes something she wants to lock in before someone else does. Number 5, plant the seed of action without chasing. Many women would initiate more often if one obstacle weren't in the way. Fear. Not fear of you, but fear of how they'll be perceived, being judged, being rejected, being seen as trying too hard. That hesitation is real, and most men misinterpret it. They read silence as disinterest, so they push harder, they chase, they clarify too much. Ironically, that pressure confirms her fear, because now initiating feels risky instead of natural. The shift happens when you remove the risk before she acts. This is where permission matters. Permission isn't pursuit. It's not asking. It's not convincing. It's a relaxed signal that says, if you step forward, it will be received. Nothing more. Men who chase apply pressure. Men who give permission create space. The difference is subtle, but powerful. Planting the seed of action means offering a future-oriented opening without urgency or expectation attached. A light suggestion, a calm invitation that doesn't need immediate closure. Statements like, text me when you're free, or next time you're around, say hi. Do something important psychologically. They pre-approve her initiative. They tell her that reaching out won't be awkward, unwanted, or misinterpreted. The door is open, and she knows it. Here's why this works. The nervous system avoids rejection more than it seeks reward. When rejection is removed, behavior shifts. Initiative feels safer. Action feels allowed. And because the idea originated from you in a grounded, confident way, she doesn't feel like she's chasing. She feels like she's responding. That distinction matters. A man who chases tries to force momentum. A man who plants seeds allows momentum to grow. He doesn't rush the outcome. He lets her choose the moment. And when she does, it feels natural, because the path was already there. Here's the truth most men never consider. She initiates when rejection has already been removed. Give clarity without pressure. Direction without demand. And suddenly the first move doesn't feel risky. It feels inevitable. Number 6, hold your composure when she moves closer. This is where most men lose everything they've built, right when it starts working. The moment a woman shows clear interest, many men internally panic. She leans in, she touches your arm, she lingers longer than necessary, and instead of staying centered, he overreacts. His tone shifts, his focus narrows, His energy spikes. He makes it obvious this moment matters too much. That reaction kills the dynamic faster than indifference ever could. Attraction doesn't fall apart because she leaned in. It collapses because he did. When a man treats her attention like a rare event, something he's been waiting for, it signals scarcity in him, not value in her. It tells her, without words, that this level of interest isn't normal for him, that he's not accustomed to being chosen. Women read that instantly. Calmness, on the other hand, signals pre-selection. It implies that female interest is familiar territory, that you can enjoy it without clinging to it, that her closeness is welcomed but not required, and that distinction changes everything. Picture a social setting. She chooses the seat next to you, despite many other options. Most men immediately shift all their attention toward her. They lean in, they lock on, they abandon the rest of the room. A composed man doesn't. He acknowledges her, he engages naturally, and without withdrawing, he keeps his center. He continues the conversation he was already having. He doesn't chase her attention just because it appeared. That's when something subtle happens. She starts adjusting. Now she's the one leaning in more, touching again, looking for ways to pull your focus back to her. Not because you ignored her, but because you didn't orbit her. This taps into a powerful, rarely discussed force, female competition. When a woman senses your attention isn't easily secured, it activates a quiet, internal drive. She wants to win your focus, to stand out, to feel chosen, but only if you don't give it away too quickly. Here's the truth most men never accept. Needing her attention is louder than asking for it. When you remain composed, you communicate abundance without saying a word. You let her interest expand instead of suffocating it, and that composure doesn't push her away. It draws her closer. Because confidence isn't reacting, it's staying centered when you have nothing to prove. Number 7, don't overvalidate. Maintain the chase. This is where most men make their final mistake. She initiates. She texts first. She plans something. She escalates emotionally or physically, and he assumes it's over, so he relaxes in the wrong way. He overvalidates. He overexplains. He starts rewarding effort as if it secured him permanently, and without realizing it, he collapses the very tension that moved her toward him in the first place. Initiation isn't the finish line. It's a checkpoint. When a woman initiates, she's testing whether your value holds once she steps forward. Your response doesn't just acknowledge her, it defines what comes next. There are 3 stages women move through when pursuing a man. First is testing, low investment, a text, a glance, a light touch. She's checking responsiveness without risk. Second is securing attention. She plans something, she adjusts her schedule, she invests time to see if access to you is stable. Third is deep pursuit. She initiates consistently. She escalates intimacy. She competes subtly for your focus. Your role isn't to rush these stages or collapse them with overvalidation. Most men do exactly that. When she reaches out, they respond with relief instead of composure. They increase effort instead of matching it. They treat her initiative as proof they've been chosen, rather than as a moment to stay grounded. The correct response is calm acknowledgement paired with restraint. You match her energy or slightly undermatch it. You appreciate effort without turning it into leverage. You reward investment without surrendering your frame. If she plans something thoughtful, you don't gush. You acknowledge it, enjoy it, and remain centered. You don't act as if she now has you, because certainty is where pursuit slows. Once she feels your approval is guaranteed, her nervous system relaxes, and relaxed systems don't chase. They settle. The key is giving her wins without giving away the game. Here's the truth most men miss, the one that determines everything long-term. The chase doesn't end when she chooses you. It ends when you lose yourself. Women don't pursue men because of tactics. They pursue men whose identity stays intact under attention. Men who don't inflate or collapse based on interest. Men whose self-respect doesn't rise and fall with validation. When you remain centered before, during, and after her initiation, you become the constant, and she becomes the variable adjusting around you. That's why some men get chased once, and others never stop being pursued. If there's one takeaway, it's this. Women don't chase because of lines, strategies, or performance. They chase because of who a man is when nothing is guaranteed. They chase men who don't collapse when attention appears. They chase men who don't inflate when validation arrives. They chase men whose identity remains stable whether a woman leans in or walks away. That's the difference. The men women pursue long-term aren't doing more. They're leaking less. Less neediness, less over-explaining, less emotional panic. They don't rush to secure outcomes because their value isn't dependent on them. And that creates a rare combination: emotional safety and tension. Not safety from predictability, but safety from pressure. Not tension from chaos, but tension from restraint. This was never about tricking women into chasing you. It was about removing the behaviors that quietly teach them not to. When you stop rewarding passivity, stop killing intrigue with certainty, and control your validation, your time, and your reactions, you don't ask to be pursued. You become the kind of man pursuit makes sense around. Remember this, because it's the truth most men never sit with long enough. The men women chase are never chasing anyone, not even validation. If this resonated, if you recognized yourself anywhere in this, do two things. First, subscribe. This channel exists to help men rebuild leverage, self-respect, and emotional control in a world that steadily erodes it. Second, leave a comment. Tell me which principle hit you hardest. And if you know a man still confusing effort with value, send this to him. Sometimes one video is all it takes to wake someone up.